Morning year 8. So we are starting a brand new topic today. It is on adaptation and inheritance. So you guys are loving the animal stuff. We are carrying on with that. So to make it a little bit of fun as well, we are going to play our own version of Where's Wally. So most of you know I have a tortoise in my classroom, and obviously my tortoise is locked down with me at home, and she's been in the garden a lot and keeps disappearing. So at home, we have been playing Where's Blinky for real. So what we're going to do, we are going to play Where's Blinky on our PowerPoint today. So on every single slide, you will not only do the lesson, but see if you can spot Blinky. She will be hiding somewhere on your screen. So our title for this lesson is Describe Competition and Adaptation. What I want you to do, I want you to copy out the orange rag sheet, and I want you to tick or cross, like we do in lessons, the before column, and then obviously when we've completed the whole series of lessons, you can then do the after column. So copy this out in your books. So we are looking at competition and adaptation today. So first of all, there's a picture here, and there is a leopard in this picture somewhere hiding. And it is hiding because it is adapted to its environment. So it is camouflaged, so very difficult to see, which obviously helps it hunt. And obviously, if it wasn't a hunter, it would help it to hide. So camouflage is a great adaptation that animals and all sorts of organisms have used and adapted to their environment. So can you spot the leopard? So I hope you found that leopard. So we are looking at how things are adapted and how things in the wild compete with each other. So what does competition mean? So what does competition mean to us as humans? And then what do you think it means to animals in the wild or plants? So I want you to write a definition, just one sentence, one bullet point of what competition is to you, and then we're going to add to that. So competition to us obviously might be running a race, winning a job. It could be anything. In the wild, animals and plants also compete. So they compete for lots and lots of different things. And we call those limited resources. So there's only so much stuff in our environment. So the best adapted animals and plants will win and survive in the wild. So what I want you to do, I want you to read this through again, pause the video, and add to your own definition for competition. So what might animals compete for? So I want you to make a list or a mind map of all the things in the environment that you think animals would be in competition with against each other. So you've probably got this on your list. If not, add to it. And it is food and water. We all need food and water to keep us alive. Next on our list is territory and shelter. Obviously, everyone needs somewhere to live. So that could be a nest in a tree. It could be like in tigers where they need a vast area of land that they patrol. So add this to your list and we'll move to the next slide. So now we come to a mate. So not necessarily our mates, which we are all missing at the moment. We are talking about mates as in a partner, as in someone to produce the next generation or offspring. And this will involve lots of things. So it could be where animals will fight for the rights to a partner, or in birds, they might do a courtship display. So mates ultimately are necessary for reproduction and the production of the next generation. So add this to your list. So your list for things that animals compete for should now have 4 things on it: food, water, territory, and a mate. So now we're going to look at plants. So what might plants compete for? So same idea, I want you to make a mind map, or again a list of the things that plants need. Go back to the photosynthesis topic. What was it that plants need? So what do our plants need? So I'm sure you all got on your list sunlight, although it could be artificial light. So we're just going to call it light for now. You probably got water as well. So they are the key ingredients alongside carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Like our animals, they also need space. Plants do not like to be too overcrowded, and if they are overcrowded, when they compete for land, a dominant species will take over, which is why a lot of our gardens and bare land will be taken over by nettles and stinging nettles and brambles, because they are a very fast grower and will take up space quickly. And then we have our minerals. So remember our lesson on plant minerals, our nitrogen, our phosphorus, our potassium. So 4 essential ingredients that plants will compete for. So it is our light, water, space and minerals. So pause the video and make sure you have a list or a mind map of the things that plants compete for. So we've talked about what plants and animals need, obviously to compete for, to survive, but what is it that allows them to actually get these things? So you've probably noticed that animals and plants all look very different. And actually those differences are key features that allow them to survive in their own particular environment or habitat. And these special features, these special characteristics are called adaptations. So on the screen, you now have a definition for an adaptation. I want you to read it, pause the video, and then shorten it into the fewest amount of words possible. Off you go. So, thinking hats on now. How can animals live in a desert? So I want you to think of an animal that lives in a very, very hot country, and how might it be adapted to live in that area? So I'm thinking of something like a desert. So a desert is very, very harsh environment. There's no food, there's very few trees and plants, and a real lack of water, very extreme conditions. You might have thought of something like a camel. So in my example, I've got an oryx, and as you can see here, I've got some of the adaptations of an oryx, and it has very wide feet, so it doesn't sink in sand, same as camels. It doesn't really sweat, so that will help it to conserve water. It has a large body, so it keeps its heat, or it stops it from heating up slowly. And it has very concentrated wee-wee or urine and very dry feces, which we call poo-poo. So it also mainly comes out at dusk and dawn, when it's going to be less hot, and that's the time when it will move around and feed. So what I want you to do, you can either use this example or a camel, and I want you to list some of its adaptations. So thinking hats on again. This time we're going to think at how plants might survive in a hot, arid environment like a desert. What adaptations do you think plants might have to survive without water? So like me, you probably thought of something like a cactus. So cactuses, or plants that live in very hot climates, have two choices. They can either adapt to lose less water, or they can take the option of storing water. And the cactus really does both of these things. So it is covered in a very waxy surface. Instead of normal leaves, it will have spines, so this will stop water evaporating from its leaves. It will also have very, very long roots that instead of travelling down into the soil, normally travel sideways along the surface. So in sort of moist conditions in the morning when there's dew on the ground, it can get that moisture. And if there is any rain, which might be maybe once every 2 years, the roots are there at the surface to absorb as much water as possible. Some plants may die back in drought times and then grow back in the sort of more rainy sort of season. They also have very fast growing seeds and they can also store water. So cactuses and plants like that are sort of very fleshy inside. So if you cut open a cactus, they would have sort of a lot of moisture held inside, and when it does rain they will absorb that water and swell up. So if any of you have got a cactus at home, you will notice that when you water it, it actually swells up in size, and that is because it is storing that water ready for those dry, hot conditions. So I want you to list some of these adaptations, or give the example of a cactus and list its adaptations to hot climates. Okay, so now I would like you to draw this table. So we are going to look at some animals in a minute. You are going to pick 2 of them and you're going to pick out an adaptation you think that animal has and then write down what its benefit is. So the example that I've used is a polar bear. So my animal is a polar bear. Its adaptation is it's white, and the benefit of that is it's camouflaged in the snow. So obviously it can creep up on its prey. It can creep up on those sills and have its dinner. It also has very wide, fluffy feet. They will not only keep them warm, but they also spread its weight out. So it balances its weight to stop it going through the ice as it hunts for seals. And it has very, very thick fur to keep it nice and warm from those very, very cold conditions. So what I would like you to do now is have a look at these pictures. We've got a hare, we've got a wow, we've got a barn owl, a camel. I've already done the polar bear, so don't do that one. And we've got a penguin. You can even pick an animal that you decide. I don't mind. You can either pick an animal from the screen or one that you like. And I want you to pick 2. I then want you to list those animals in your table, and then I want you to say why it's adapted. So pick out a feature, so it might be long ears or wings, and then say how that benefits the animal and complete your table. Okay, this is not a compulsory question. It is just one for our keen biologists out there and nature lovers. So why do vultures have long necks and bald heads? Have a little think. So did you work out why? It has a long neck and a bald head, so it can actually reach inside dead bodies. So vultures are scavengers, and when they obviously put their head inside a zebra or something like that that's died, they do not want to get blood and meat all over their head, because that will attract parasites and bacteria, and obviously be a negative for the vulture itself. So its bald head actually helps it keep nice and clean when it is feeding. So for a bit of fun, I want you to design a super predator. So one that is best adapted for your particular environment. It doesn't have to be a real animal. It can be absolutely anything you like. Use your imaginations. Draw the maddest animal you can think of and how it might be adapted, and send us a photo. We'll be doing shout outs for those. Also, did everyone manage to find Blinky? If not, go back through the video and see if you can find her. She is hidden on every page. For those of you that are really interested in this subject and would like to go on to obviously study biology at a higher level, I have attached some extra clips here of competition in animals. So we've got some birds of paradise footage here of how they compete for mates. We've also got a clip here on how octopuses use their adaptations to survive. Some incredible stuff here. And then on the following page, I've also got some plant clips as well, which are also very interesting as to how plants actually are adapted to their environment. This is not compulsory. This is just extra stuff if animals and plants really interest you and you'd like to learn a little bit more.